question now is, can I receive Holy Communion if I'm divorced? We'll answer this in two parts. First, if you're divorced and not remarried, you're living the Christian life well, there's no impediment from reception of communion. So that somebody who's divorced, particularly if they're divorced not through their own fault, can be receiving communion regularly and should be. If they are divorced through their own fault, they should go to confession and then be receiving communion. Because communion is helpful to living the Christian life well, and part of living the Christian life well is morally doing the right things. The question is a little more difficult for people that are divorced and remarried, because Jesus says, if you divorce and marry another, you commit adultery. The committing of adultery is a violation of one of the big 10 commandments and is not part of living the Christian life well, no matter what a person's intention is. And to receive the Eucharist, we're saying not just that I believe that this is the body and blood of Christ, but I'm living in communio, in communion with that reality. That I'm doing what I can to live my Christian life well to the glory of God. And part of that is respecting not just the laws concerning marriage, but the reality of the mystery of marriage. Because marriage is a sign of Christ's love for His church. For the Jewish people, idolatry and adultery were essentially the same sin. They were violations of the great covenants, the covenant with God and the covenant with their spouse. And the prophet Hosea was led by God to marry a prostitute who kept going off to prostitution. He kept bringing her back. And people said, "Are you crazy?" And he said, "No, this is how God loves us. That even when we wander away, He calls us back." And so, no matter what our circumstance of life, God is always calling us back to holiness of life and to follow Him. But until we've addressed the problem of the divorce and remarriage, one can't fittingly receive communion. One needs to be working on addressing that state of life. Because the presumption is strong that every time a couple says, "Till death do we part," an authentic marriage is established, that only death can end. So, for the divorced and remarried, should not be receiving communion until that prior marriages are addressed and the present union is regularized in the church, established as an authentic reality, so that husband and wife are once again in the sacrament of grace, helping each other live the life of holiness and being that public witness of God's unconditional love. May God bless us.